Hello, welcome everyone to FMC here on Fightful Overbooked. I am Jeremy, and this is SP3. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Good morning, everyone. Joining us live, early morning. Get the crust out of your eyes, drink your coffee, and let's have some fun.
Yes, FMC. So I decided it can stand for whatever you want it to stand for, but it'd be Friday morning coffee, Friday morning chat. It'd be something Mikey. I don't know if there's a C. I don't. Is there a wrestler MC? Fuck Matt Cardona can stand for that if you wanted
There you
to.
go.
There we go. Actually, I like Cardona, so. Yeah, it could stand for whatever you wanted to, honestly. But this is going to be a bi-weekly thing that SP3 and I do where we just chat mainly non-wrestling stuff because we do enough wrestling content, sometimes together, a lot of times on other platforms. We need a break from that stuff sometimes, man.
Yeah, like sometimes I get confused with what platforms I'm on because it's changed now in this new year. So it's very, very confusing in January. By February, I'll get it. But yeah, I like platforms where I can talk freely, and it's usually with Jeremy where I'm able to talk about a little bit of basketball, a little bit of challenge. So very happy to be doing this.
Yes, and we can do whatever we want on this channel. Sean Rossap is just like, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't care at this point. Guys, send in super chats, send in helper chats. We will read your question, comment, statement on air. Like Val Ba here, he says, how many bricks can Westbrook brick if Westbrook could brick bricks? Answer: a lot. We got to start there, buddy. So I asked you after game one when they lost to the Warriors your panic level. And it was pretty low at the
Yep.
time. It was one game, they got a gel and everything. We're halfway through the season now. They're under 500. Westbrook got benched at the end of the Pacers game. What's your panic level?
Oh, it's 10 out of 10 at this point. Like we're 45 games in. We're 22 and 23. We're 27th in points allowed for a team that was built on its defense and won a championship 15 months ago based on their defense. This is unacceptable. It's just purely unacceptable. As a Laker fan, we have high expectations for our team. So, despite everything that my basketball mind said, my Laker heart was going to say, we're going to be the number one seed. We're going to go to the finals again. We're going to beat the Nets. All of that was just false bravado, ladies and gentlemen. This is apparently all falling apart. I feel bad for Frank Vogel because he's being used as the scapegoat, and I don't think it's his fault. First of all, you need Anthony Davis back if you're going to be a defensive team because he's the anchor of the defense, and he just can't seem to stay on the court for us in the last two seasons. So that's an issue. And then Russell Westbrook needs a role. It shouldn't be halfway through the season and at a press conference, he's asked, "What's your role on the team?" And he says, "I really don't know my role on the team." and laughs. And laughs. It's laughable to him. That's crazy.
It's laughable to him because if he expressed how his real opinion there and his real feelings, he'd probably go off on somebody. So he's got to mask it with a little bit of humor there. Man, I watched the Jazz game, and of course, Russ has that dunk against Gobert, which is awesome, and it brought back great memories of when Russ was in his MVP form. And I remember after the Jazz game, Lakers Twitter was just fired up about, oh, this is it. This is the turning point. I texted my buddy Sammer, who people got introduced to yesterday on this channel, and he's like, "This is gonna work against the Lakers. This dunk, we used to call Westbrook dunks reverse momentum dunks. He'd do these great dunks in game. The most famous one was against the Cavs. It was the LeBron Kyrie Cavs. It was the year OKC went to the conference finals and blew the 3-1 lead. He does this dunk in game against the Cavs. It's just an insane dunk. And then the Cavs went on like a 25-0 to run after this dunk. every Westbrook dunk would be reverse momentum. And so he texts me, he's like, it's reverse momentum. This is going to work against them. And sure enough, they lose to the lowly Pacers, and Westbrook gets benched in the next game. The dunk backfired. Longtime Westbrook fans knew that dunk was going to backfire. I think longtime Westbrook fans also knew this wasn't going to work, man. This was not going to work. I said it at the time, like, that fit, it's a weird fit because somebody's got to give up control there. And it had to be LeBron. And I know Lakers fans are going to want to hear that. I know LeBron fans are going to hear that. And here's why it had to be LeBron, though. Westbrook ain't a good shooter. He can't just stand in the corner and be like, all right, let's do floor spacing, because he can't space the floor. So LeBron has to play more of that role, and Westbrook still needs to be your main playmaker and facilitator and drive the offense that way. And they're not doing that with him. LeBron is he's still got to be the ball dominant guy. And it's such an odd fit. It was from the start. I know a lot of Lakers fans and experts had thoughts that maybe like, oh, they'll figure it out. It'll be fine. They're two professionals. They had lunch together and they were like, they'll be on the same page. It's like, man, I've watched enough Westbrook and LeBron over the years to know, like, they can go have lunch and be all buddy on Instagram and say nice things on social media. But once you get on that court and in practice and stuff, them guys ain't changing their ways, man. Them guys are not changing their ways.
Yeah, they just seem stuck in their ways. And I don't think LeBron James gets enough just criticism for it, because he's the guy in the Lakers, a part of the Lakers that came with this idea. I don't know what Russell Westbrook was. He must be, a contestant on Shark Tank, and everybody offered him a deal because he convinced LeBron James that this was a good idea. LeBron James convinced Anthony Davis this was a good idea. They brought it to Jeannie Buss and convinced her it was a good idea, and Jeannie Buss went out and got it done. Out of all those people, the only person that it makes sense that this seemed like a good idea is Jeannie Buss, because you had LeBron James and Anthony Davis come to you and tell you this was a good idea, and they just got you an NBA championship. So you're going to be like, yeah, of course, I'm going to go get you what you want. But everybody else in this situation, I don't understand why they didn't see what we saw, that this was not going to work, because you have two ball dominant guys that are just not going to change. Like, LeBron James is LeBron James, and that's what works for him. And that's why when you look at his stats and you look what he does on the court, he has MVP type performances, MVP type numbers, but he's not going to be a candidate because we are underperforming. And then when you look at Russell Westbrook, he is a guy that he'll go out on the court and he'll just go. And he did that for a while on the Thunder because he was the best player and it worked for them. But when you put him on a team that just won a championship, when you put him on a team with LeBron James, he needs direction. And I feel like it's not even like on LeBron James, because he has a different form of motivating people. I think, like I said, the first thing that needs to happen is Anthony Davis coming back, because I feel like he will get through more to Russell Westbrook than LeBron James. LeBron James has his way of communicating with people. He likes to have control of the situation, and Russell Westbrook is not a guy to control. And I just don't feel like we've seen enough of the full team with Anthony Davis on the court yet. So I'm willing to say we have a chance to get.
You're talking yourself into. We just need to get healthy. Anthony Davis doesn't stay healthy. He just doesn't. There's no history. He was healthy in the bubble. This ain't the bubble. Like, there's no evidence. There's no evidence this man's going to stay on the floor that long.
He was healthy before the pandemic as well. So there's always, when Anthony Davis got on this team, I said we were going to win a championship if Anthony Davis got us there. And he got us there in the bubble. He was
very good in the bubble.
In my opinion, he should have been finals MVP, but they give it to the bigger names, and LeBron James always has ridiculous stats, so they can make that look valid. So I just feel like I want to see them on the court together, but no, this is not going to work. We're not going to win a championship. We're not going to the NBA finals. We're not going to the conference finals with the team currently assembled.
I think that a Davis and Westbrook duo can work it when like LeBron sits if you stagger them, because Westbrook has always done good work with a big.
Yeah.
Davis, the problem is Davis doesn't he didn't run a whole lot of pick and roll kind of stuff, and that can be an issue. He'll run some pick and pop, but his shooting numbers are abysmal this season, so that's not helpful. The defense was always going to be an issue. Oh, look, I've watched enough Westbrook over the years to know that, yeah, this man in the final 2 minutes with like the game on the line, one-on-one defense, sure, he might like lock in a little bit. There's that famous play against like James Harden where he locks him up and he steals it. That might have been the MVP season. But like otherwise, off ball, like he's gonna ball watch the entire time. He's gonna be at beat back door the entire time. The defense was just, it was never going to work. And I know that the Lakers were like going to trust their system and everything, but they brought in like Melo. They just brought in guys who just don't play a whole lot of defense. They went for splashes this offseason. I understand, after last season, the disappointment that he knocked out, like you could have used the injury excuse, but you know what, if Davis was healthy and stuff, we would have been okay.
We were up 2-1 on the Suns.
Yeah.
And they made it to the finals. So like that, with Anthony Davis healthy, we were up 2-1. He gets injured in game 4 and we lose. So we should have went into the offseason with the thinking that we would have been in the NBA finals if Anthony Davis was healthy, and that's your number one focus. And then filling out the team in the right way should have been the secondary.
They had the deal. It's seemingly on the table. Woj literally like reported that the deal was on the 1 yard line for Buddy Hield, and I think they were giving up Kuzma was the big piece deal, but I think they were keeping Caldwell Pope in that deal. They weren't giving up as much as they gave up for Westbrook, and then instead they pivoted and they went for the splash and they got Westbrook, where they traded more to get him. And look, I understand if you want to trade Kyle Kuzma. He's playing great in Washington, by the way. But that was the guy where it's like, if we're going to trade anybody, Kuzma seems to be the most tradable asset here. And Buddy Hield for Kyle Kuzma at the time certainly seemed like an upgrade. Hield, especially with his shooting, and he can create you some offense as well. They went with splash with Westbrook over really fit, because the fit was never there. Hield would have been a good fit. Like that's just a guy who's going to get you a bunch of catch and shoot opportunities and he's going to knock them down. But they went with splash. They went with Westbrook. They never, I know he laughed about the role thing. We joked about it. They really didn't get him a role though. I read an article, I think it was the Orange County Register. And, the Lakers went small with LeBron at the 5, which bless LeBron playing at the 5, but they kept the ball in LeBron's hands for all of this. Like, this is honestly where you put the ball in Westbrook's hands and you space everything out and you let Westbrook go. This is what the Houston Rockets did, is they had Robert Covington playing center on that Westbrook team, but they had the ball more in Westbrook's hands than Harden, especially when Harden would sit, but they kept small and Westbrook would just they would just play 5 out. And Westbrook would just find lanes to like cut in, and they weren't just using him strictly as like a spacer. LeBron is just he's gonna ball dominate, and he's gonna do his post ups and stuff while everybody stands off to one side of the floor and whatnot, and nobody's gonna move or anything like that. And like the offense just, it ain't really working. It seems okay at times because you have LeBron James, and so you're gonna get points. The defense is just a complete mess with the team they have, though. Is there any hope, SP3? Is there, like, the deadline's coming up in a month? Can they do anything at the trade deadline?
I don't think you can. They really have to hold on to Westbrook. The only chance they have to get anything substantial for Westbrook is if you hold on to him in the offseason. He's an expiring contract, and then you let him off that way. But you're not going to get anything major. He's got the option. He's got the player option this offseason. He ain't turning down 40 million.
I
know, but there's gonna be a bad team that will take the expiring contract, a 1-year contract, for him to just play on the team, and then you let off that contract, and then there will be a big player in next year's offseason.
You got to have the cap space to do it, and the Lakers also got to attach a bunch of picks, and I don't know what their pick situation is after Davis, but I don't think it's very good. So
It's
because
awful. It's awful. We
yeah,
2023 we don't have a pick. I don't think we have a pick this off. Do we? Yeah, no. I don't think we have a pick this off season. And then 2024, I think it's a swap worse. So we don't really have a first round pick until 2025.
so you're gonna have to give up major futures. I'm looking at the Lakers deals. Okay, so yeah, the first round is they do have a pick in 2025, 2026. So starting 2025. I mean, the destination everybody mentions is OKC. One, because there is the history there with Westbrook. Two, because they do have plenty of cap space. I know Shea's contract kicks in next year, I believe. So that cap space will be a little bit more limited. But that Shea's their only like max guy. They still have plenty of room to add Westbrook's deal. I don't think it's gonna work though, because if you're trading for Russell Westbrook, you're trading for him. I mean, maybe buyout purposes, but OKC already has Kemba's contract on the books for buyout purposes. You're trading for him, expecting like him to like be a contributor, especially at that money. And if you're a team like the Thunder, you don't want to play Westbrook 35 minutes a night. Like you just don't. No, yeah. I love Russell Westbrook. I'll never forget the memories, but like that's a team that's trying to develop these young guys. You don't need Russell Westbrook out there. He ain't Chris Paul. And I say that in that like Chris Paul was a very good mentor to Shea that season. And Chris Paul understood to do these little things. And Chris Paul was really good at like teaching these guys and lifting these guys. Westbrook, bless him, he's just going to be Russell Westbrook. And that's not the guy you want on a rebuilding team. And I don't know if there's another team. Maybe there is a team out there that is like, you know what? If we let Westbrook be like just kind of control the offense and stuff, it'll be okay. Maybe he can get us to the playoffs. And maybe that a team is just happy to make the playoffs. I don't know what team, the Kings? Like, are the Kings going to go for it?
That's the first one that I thought of where they can, let that contract off. They can get a young player, hopefully, not someone like Fox. They're not going to get Fox, but there's someone that they can try to make something of or eventually trade. But the Kings was the first team that I thought of that they can trade Russell Westbrook to. It's not even about getting something back. It's about getting Russell Westbrook off this team because this was never a good idea. I mean, like in general, we should have went out and got a shooter. I totally agree with you. Buddy Hield would have been a better fit overall because when you look at like Russell Westbrook, he's shooting 30% from 3-point.
That's and good for him.
Honestly. Yeah, this is an improvement, ladies and gentlemen, on what he usually shoots. But it seems like his bad shooting from 3 has spread throughout the entire team because, like Anthony Davis, like you said, he's shooting 18% from 3. LeBron's 3-point percentage is down slightly, so it's just not working. So yes, I do want to see what happens when Anthony Davis comes back, but I have no faith that Anthony Davis will stay on the court. So yeah, like I said, as currently assembled, we need a change, but that change as far as Russell Westbrook getting traded, I don't think it's coming at the trade deadline. I think that the trade deadline might be about getting another piece in here or kind of I don't know what you do besides trade Russell Westbrook during the trade deadline, but I can see the Lakers making a move. I don't see it being with Russell Westbrook.
I don't know if they have I don't think there's any type of splash they can make. They just don't have the pieces to make it. Like I know they want to trade Taylor Horton Tucker and like he's kind of he ain't what Lakers fans thought he was.
No,
all-star.
I'm just gonna say, as a Laker fan, I never believed the hype on Taylor Horton. Here, THT. I never believed.
He had some good games in summer league. SP3. That's summer league. Them summer league stats.
My dude, and he was a part of our the young players that we have. When you got Kuzma ahead of you. Nah, I'm sorry. You're not the young horse. You're the fourth option of the guys that we had that were young that we should have held on to. And now we have you, and we're seeing that you're not that player. So
yeah, that's been a rough one. His value just completely maybe there is a team out there who is willing to like give him a shot and just being like, it was a bad situation in the Lakers. Maybe you can do a little bit more than you showed there. But his value has tanked so much that team ain't giving up a whole lot for him to take that flyer on him.
I knew we should have traded him last offseason. Like I said, the trade to make was Kuzma and NTHC for like Healed and maybe a pick, and that would have helped our team out very much more. We could have got a pick for the next 3 seasons, and we would have got a shooter, and that just works more. We should have never even thought about like even bringing in a point guard because LeBron is just too ball dominant. What we needed was shooters to surround around LeBron and AD. And it just seems like in the past couple of off seasons, that direction has kind of just veered off.
So Woj just tweeted from Westbrook on his fourth quarter benching. Los Angeles Lakers star Russell Westbrook tells ESPN, "Surprised? Yes, I was disappointed I didn't go back in, but I'm disappointed. I'm more disappointed that we lost the damn game." And he says, "I've accepted everything that has been asked of me and tried to do it to the best of my ability." And this goes back to the role thing, in that they don't have a role for him. Like I don't think they know how to utilize Westbrook because they have LeBron, and LeBron still wants the ball in his hands so much. So you have to placate that. Something has to give. And like I said, like LeBron is the one who had to give up control, and he's not going to do that. He was never going to do that. And unfortunately for Westbrook, like he's not going to cut. When he does, I mean, he will a little bit. I'll be fair to Westbrook. Like he will cut and move a little bit, but it doesn't seem like the Lakers have a ton of motion in their offense. And Westbrook ain't the guy you want standing around the 3-point line because nobody's going to guard him out there. So he's got to move. Like there's got to be movement when the ball is in LeBron's hands. But LeBron is more suited to like run, be a screener, kind of pick and roll, pick and pop kind of guy because he is just a better shooter. And Westbrook's a better facilitator and can drive more of the offense when he has the ball in his hands as opposed to when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. It's a mess. It's a complete mess out there. I think Jason Kidd leaving is their biggest issue. Jason Kidd, by the way, everyone dunked on him because he wasn't good with the Bucks and the Nets. And then he comes to the Lakers as an assistant. He seems to do a good job over there. Like the defense improved. And then he goes to the Mavericks where they're a defensive juggernaut. And you wouldn't expect that from this Mavericks team. So Jason Kidd, good on him. Like seemed like he actually did have a pretty big role in at least the defensive part with the Lakers.
I really felt like J. Kidd was a very important part. Like I think that Frank Vogel on his own, we've seen he is a difference maker as far as the defense. But I think the combination of Vogel and Kidd was key to the Lakers winning the championship in the bubble. So what he's doing over in the Mavericks, I'm not surprised. I thought it was a great move by the Mavs to sign him because even with, just without the defense, having a great point guard like Jason Kidd be a coach for Luka Doncic, that's going to be an advantage for him in the future of his career. But it just seems like overall, he just really has kind of changed this team. And I thought they would be a top 4 seed, and they're showing themselves to be kind of just adding a new element to their whole team dynamic.
Really? You thought the Mavs were going to be a top 4 seed?
Yeah.
Man. I think somebody's coming to arrest you for that take. The Mavs being a top 4. The Mavs being a top 4 seed. I don't know. I thought I guess the Clippers, once it was announced Kawhi was out, that kind of doomed their hopes. I thought the Lakers would still find a way to be a top 4 team. Like with all that talent, I was like, they'll just out talent enough teams. I thought the Suns would be there again. I thought the Nuggets would be better. They've been killed by injuries, just devastated by injuries. And then the Warriors, I knew they would have a big bounce back season. Those are kind of my top 4 teams.
I had most of those. I had Lakers, I had the Suns, I had Nuggets, and then Mavs. And then I knew the Warriors would be back up, but I didn't know 4 or 5. I definitely didn't foresee them being right back at the top of the game, but that's not surprising either because of, Stephen Curry is just unreal what that whole team, Steve Kerr, they're just having a tremendous season right now. And they look like they're going to make it to the NBA finals. Honestly, it just seems like I think the Suns and maybe the Mavericks, if they really overachieve this season, I just think that I really felt that Luka Doncic was going to have just another MVP type season. And I think that KP was here. I thought that KP was hearing all the stuff heard about him, and that he was either going to have a good season to try to stay on the Mavs or have a good season to improve his trade odds of going on a good team.
I think the Mavs have like a good margin moves they can make at the deadline. I don't know what it is, but I think there's a margin move there where you're like, oh, the Mavericks really did something and improved their chances to solidify themselves as a conference final team. I'd keep an eye on them at the deadline because I do think they have a move in them. Anything else on the Lakers that you would like to we've been very critical. We've been very critical of Russell Westbrook. I do want to stress it ain't just him. That team just a complete mess, kind of from top to bottom. Kurt Rambis, what is Kurt Rambis doing here, trying to give advice with a career winning percentage of like 20%? What is he doing?
I don't understand just the decision making. Like all the signings I thought were good for what we could get, the scraps of the free agency, but we're just too old. We are old. We should be in a senior citizen home, not on an NBA basketball court. It's just embarrassing. I want to talk more about other teams. I mean, the most surprising team in the West for me is the Grizzlies right now, because I thought they would be a play-in team, not a top 3 seed. Like John Morant, I think he gets slept on a lot, in my opinion. Like, he was rookie of the year. I feel like he could be one of the elite point guards in the league, but you got Triple J on that team, who's great defensively. So that team is kind of going to be at that in the mix of the Western Conference for maybe the next 8 years, it seems.
I figured the Grizzlies would take a step because they were in the play-in game last year and they won and they got into the they got into the playoffs. The Jazz, another team that seemed to have that still had top 4 potential. It's just, man, it's so tough to take the Jazz serious until or through the regular season, because we just see how they do in the playoffs. It's very tough.
They're the Western Conference Atlanta Hawks, ladies and gentlemen. For years in the early 2010s, the Al Horford, Joe Johnson, Josh Smith Atlanta Hawks used to be a 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Everybody's like, oh, yay, Atlanta's in the mix. And then they would come in the playoffs and lose in the first round. And that's the stigma on the Jazz right now, because the Jazz had their path made for them to go to the conference finals last year, and they blew it against a Kawhi Leonard-less Los Angeles Clippers. So they got that real regular season stigma on them that there's nothing they can do right now. It's going to be in the playoffs where they can kind of brush that off.
The Grizzlies, I mean, Desmond Bane, like, where did he come from? He had like a quietly good, like, nice little contributor role last season, but this season he's been tremendous for them. I like the Steven Adams move for the Grizzlies. I never understood it from the Pelicans when they acquired him, because I thought the fit next to Zion made absolutely no sense. But for the Grizzlies, I thought it did make sense because Jaren Jackson can play stretch with the 4, where Zion was never going to be a stretch 4. So you could have Steven Adams in the paint there. So I did like that. And Steven Adams brings, a veteran presence and a leadership to that team that I think they were, as a young team, they just didn't fully have. So I love the Steven Adams move for them. Grizzlies, man, they've already made some noise through the regular season. That's a team that I'd be scared of in the playoffs. It seems like they're going to top 3 seed. They might they might sneak in and get like a top 2 seed. I don't fully trust that they can surpass the Warriors, even though the Warriors are slipping a little bit. But they're going to be at least a top 3 seed, and that's a team that that is very scary. The Nuggets ravaged with injuries. We mentioned the Jazz, the Clippers. Look, I hope Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are nice and healthy next year. Y'all take the year off. You're good. Let Reggie Jackson run the show. We got that unprotected pick in OKC. Give me them 2 lottery picks, and I'll be good to go. But they ain't winning nothing this year, so take the year off, guys. It'll be okay. Take the year off. You're good. You don't need to come back this year.
Help out Jeremy. I feel like, me talking so much basketball with Jeremy is the reason, because I haven't watched a lot of Laker games this season, but the 2 Laker games that I watched was OKC Thunder games against the Lakers, and I'm watching it, and we got the big lead, and then they come back and like beat us to death. I'm talking too much basketball with Jeremy. The first time I was like, all right, let me. I'm not gonna blame Jeremy for this. The second time, I was like, yeah, I am talking too much basketball with Jeremy, because this is some messed up stuff. So I haven't watched the Laker game since, ladies and gentlemen.
There's been no reason to watch a Lakers game since. There's been no reason to. You didn't watch the Christmas game? You had to watch the Christmas game.
No, because you know what I did on Christmas? My nephew goes out with Kyrie Irving's sister. So all I did was argue.
Wait a second. This is a let's talk about this.
Yes. Kyrie's sister, Asia, is my nephew's girlfriend. And we're just sitting at the table at Christmas, just arguing about who's gonna win the game. And like when we look at the game, the Lakers is getting their butt kicked, and I just stopped watching. I'm talking about full games. I started watching the Christmas game, but I ain't finished.
What was Kyrie? He wasn't playing.
No,
he can't play. He can't play those games.
No. I mean, we even talked about that, and I'm more in my. Okay, I understand where the brother is coming from. He is firm in his stance.
He's very firm in it.
There are some thumper players out there, and Kyrie and Russell Westbrook are kind of competing for who is the most stubborn and stuck in their ways. But I respect Kyrie for for where he stands.
Got to get that shot, buddy.
I got my booster earlier this week, ladies and gentlemen. I was boosted, and I was exhausted and just out of it for a whole day. But I believe in it. But I'm not gonna argue and go into what you want to do with your body. Do what you do, but they kind of need you on the court, brother, because KD is down, and
he can play road games.
Yeah,
he can come in there and play on the road.
Yeah, I had to explain to somebody, like, the Nets really had no other choice. It kind of worked out for them that, they were already pressing the issue and starting to move things, so he's able to play road games. But right now, they need Kyrie, or like they're gonna fall too far down in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion.
They should, honestly. They should. They shouldn't want home court advantage. That's going to take a game away from Kyrie. Just be a lower seed. Be a lower seed so we can play in more games. That's my strategy.
That strategy right there. He was like, we get 4 games of Kyrie.
Yeah. Get the 6th seed. Get the 7th seed, you got to do the play-in and everything. And he wouldn't play in the play-in because they would have home court for that. Get the 6th seed. Then you're pretty much the low seed in all the matchups. And unless the 1 and 2 get upset, but you don't think that's going to happen in the East. Get the 6th seed. It'll be good. You get 4 games of Kyrie instead of 3.
This is Jeremy. Jeremy is exposing what his strategy would be as an NBA with Kyrie.
Yeah, I'd tell him to throw these games. I mean, listen, guys, we don't need to win. We got to lock into the 6th seed. The 1 seed, we don't want home court. No, get the 6th seed. That's what I tell these guys. I think the KD injury is actually fake so they can tank more games to get that 6th seed. Honestly, I don't think Durant's actually hurt at all. He's been faking injuries his entire career. So I don't think he's actually hurt.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all because a lot of the stuff with the Nets have been very elaborately planned. And the reason why I think I said it on this episode that my nephew goes out with Kyrie's sister is because I knew Kyrie and KD were going to the Nets for a year before it happened. Like I literally couldn't tell
SP3.
Yeah, I literally couldn't tell anybody. I couldn't literally we went to my my great aunt's 100th birthday and I'm sitting next to my nephew. This is in 2018 before even the summer of 2019 and I was like, "Oh, like I knew my nephew had started talking to her and started talking to Kyrie and I was like, "Oh, you've been hanging out with him. Where are you going to go?" He was like him and KD going to the Nets. He literally said it like so nonchalantly. Like I was like, "Man, get up." Like honestly, the reason I didn't say that, I was like, "Man, you said that mad nonchalant. Like I'm not believing you." And then when it happened, I texted him. I was like, "Yo, that shit happened."
You gotta DM me these scoops. You gotta DM me these scoops so I can pre-write the story. I don't tell anybody. Sean gives me these scoops all the time, and I keep them a secret. I'm good at keeping these secrets. I'll tell the girlfriend, but she doesn't want any of the clout. Like she's not gonna tell anybody. So come on, SP3. You gotta give me these Kyrie and Nets scoops.
I got you from now on. From now on. Now we know, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sharing my scoops with Jeremy because he's got the best headlines in the game, ladies and
gentlemen. Nobody bugged me for the scoops either, but I gotta pre-write stories here. I gotta pre-write these stories. JJ says no Bob for dunking on the Lakers for 3 minutes. Like he can't really refute anything. That heavyweight slime is still tremendous. But
yo, I got DMs about that whole segment, like the mixture of Bob's breaking the Lakers down, and your facial expressions is one of the great moments in YouTube history. That was a great DM. Thank you, everyone who enjoyed that.
That was a tremendous line. All right, let's get off of basketball. Unless there's anything else you want to talk about with basketball.
I mean, the only thing I gotta ask is the same question we asked when we started the season. Where do you think Ben Simmons going?
Oh man, I looked very dumb with this every single time. I was like, oh yeah, he'll be traded soon. Like when the December 15th, kind of stuff where it was lifted, where all the free agents who signed the offseason could be traded. I was like, I think he's getting moved within like a week. Like there will be a taker out there within a week. And now I'm at the point of I think they're going to wait until the offseason because you can get better deals in the offseason. I think they're going to wait until the draft or maybe even a couple days into free agency to kind of see what happens. The only reason I think that they wouldn't do that is because Embiid is playing out of his mind right now, but without like that second guy or without just a better team around him, because I don't think they're going to land like getting Bradley Beal, getting Damian Lillard, these guys, I feel like it's out of question at this point. So I don't think they're going to land like this second star that they hope to land. But you could still get good enough pieces for Ben Simmons. And with Embiid playing the way he is, it feels tough to like waste this year of Joel Embiid because the team is currently constructed. They ain't a threat for the finals. So you got to have pieces around him. And if you don't do anything with Simmons, it does feel almost like a waste of this year for Embiid. And then you have to wonder next season, okay, if you do make that trade, like you got to be very certain you're getting that guy that you want to get. Because if you just trade him in the offseason and get a return that you probably could have gotten this season and you took this with Embiid and did nothing with it, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow. Like now, if you do get a James Harden, if you do get a Bradley Beal, if you do get a Damian Lillard, that's a different thing. Then it's like, okay, you were smart to wait this out. Can you afford to take that risk? That's why I play NBA 2K and I don't have to actually make these decisions in real life because I don't know if I could wait on it. I don't know if I could wait and be like, yeah, I'm going to hold out and try to get one of these guys. I feel like I'd be like, just let me take what I can right here. Let me trade finder this. Let me see what's there. And let me take what I can to build around Joel Embiid. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. That would be my direction if I was playing this on 2K. That you got to kind of, this dude just had 50 points in 27 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
he is like putting up Shaq numbers at this point. And you just need to, they're a fifth seed right now without Ben Simmons. If you can trade him and get the pieces around Embiid, you can really take advantage of a kind of a uncertain Eastern Conference, because the current NBA champions are just a 4 seed. We've already discussed the issues with the Nets. Those are the real two that could beat them in the playoffs, and they have their own kind of, it seems like kind of just footing issues or little nitpicks that they have to work out before they get to the playoffs. If the Sixers could pull off a trade and get some chemistry rolling before the playoffs start, they could really be a dark horse to kind of have that kind of surprise run in the playoffs that the Bucks had. The Bucks for a long time were a top seed, 1 or 2, and then they would always kind of lose in the second round or lose in the conference finals. But when they were kind of below the radar and they just kind of, they made the right move with the True Holiday trade, they were able to win the championship. I think the Sixers are in that position right now.
I know it seems like the biggest talk right now is the Kings, because the Kings seem desperate to make some sort of move, and they got enough pieces both in talent you can take a chance on, talent that is established, and money to where, hey, maybe we can do this. And a framework that I've been seeing is De'Aaron Fox and Harrison Barnes. Like, is this the splashy move? Like, this isn't Bradley Beal, Damian Lillard. De'Aaron Fox, I still think, is a good point guard, and I think he can be a better point guard on a better team. The Kings are the Kings, and I know they were hoping that Fox would take that leap and that, he could propel them into the playoffs. He might not be that guy that's going to be your number one option. You put him on the Sixers, where he is the legitimate number two option, where you have a very, very good number one option. I think De'Aaron Fox is still a good point guard. Harrison Barnes, he's a pro scorer, if nothing else, right? Like, he's going to get you buckets. So that's just a guy that's going to come in there. You can count on to drive some offense. I know they're looking to move Tobias Harris to try to get off that terrible contract as well. Maybe you can throw him in there, and then maybe you get Buddy Hield in return as well. That's it. I don't know why the Sixers would want, or not the Sixers, the Kings would want Tobias Harris on top of Ben Simmons. I feel like I would just take Simmons, but I know Buddy Hield wants out of Sacramento. It's a lot of moving parts there. If I'm the Sixers, I'm taking a hard look at getting Fox, Barnes, and potentially Buddy Hield, because that's a lot of talented players to put around Joel Embiid and really like rounds out that team. The defense might be an issue. That's where Joel Embiid might have to do more work on the defensive end. But offensively, you get him a lot of help with 2 or 3 of those guys.
Yeah, I just thought about it. Like, he's never really had a true point guard that can score. That you play with. And like, this dude has played with Markel Fultz and Ben Simmons, like 2 of the probably the greatest known non-shooting point guards in the last decade in the NBA. Those are the 2 point guards he has primarily played with in his career. If he gets someone like Fox in there, I think that we could see him start putting up these type of numbers that he's been putting up lately on a more consistent basis. And the Sixers would be a dominant 1 seed if they would get like a Fox, Hield, Harrison combination, something like that. Or even talking to the Portlands of the world, they could get something over there, like Damian Lillard, of course. That would just be it. The Eastern Conference, in my opinion, I'm sorry. It don't even matter how many home or away games Kyrie play. I think the Sixers could beat the Nets if they get Damian Lillard. So there's a bunch of moves that could really propel the Sixers. And like I said, I feel like they're in that Bucks where the Bucks were before they got True Holiday, where they were a great team, a favorite in the East, but they needed that one move to really win the championship. Sixers are at that move, and this Ben Simmons trade is going to be that move that decides if they're going to win a championship or they're going to kind of taper off in the next couple of years as Embiid is having these monster seasons.
I mean, if they get Lillard, I don't think Lillard's on the table, by the way, but you get an Embiid Lillard
No, I don't think
combination. So. Yeah. And CJ McCollum with his injury, like that makes it tough. The Blazers are a team that Anthony Simons is coming like where I know my Blazers buddy was very high on him, but I didn't foresee any of this coming. So, but he's really broke out. But that's probably a team that still needs to make some sort of move, just because the Lillard McCollum pairing feels like it's run its course over here. Yeah. The trade deadline is in a month. SP3 and I we're planning to do a live stream like during the deadline day, so we will be doing that. On the trade deadline day, we will come in and just read all of Woj's and Sham's tweets on air.
Absolutely.
And react to it. Should be a fun day. There will be a lot of the speculation is always more fun than what actually happens, but there's potential for a lot of fun to happen on that day. I do want to talk about the NFL playoffs right fast. What are you thinking for this weekend? Bengals and Titans.
Bengals and Titans. I'm gonna go with the Bengals. I really feel like they're they just feel like the kind of the underdog favorites in the AFC. Like everybody's kind of rooting for them. The Titans, they got Henry, they got a pretty good defense, but I just feel like the hot team to go with right now is the Bengals. So I'm gonna go with the Bengals in that one. What about you?
The Titans feel like such a weird 1 seed. Like, you look at it doesn't seem like they should be a 1 seed. Like, I watched them lose some games that they just should not have lost. And then they won some games that you wouldn't think they were going to win. But, man, it's a weird 1 seed. And now it feels like everybody is jumping on the Bengals, and that worries me.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes down to Derrick Henry, because I know he's back. I know he's going to play. But if he's not, like, if he can't run the ball like we're used to seeing Derrick Henry run the ball, then they're going to have some issues. But I'm kind of on the Bengals as well. San Francisco, Green Bay.
San Francisco, Green Bay. I can't bet against Rodgers. I can't bet against Green Bay in general, because that's kind of the team that I kind of grew up with, kind of seeing, Brett Favre and everything. I've always not liked the 49ers, so that's another reason. So yes, I'm gonna go with the Packers in that one.
I'm going with the Packers as well. Green Bay. They had a nice win against Dallas. San Francisco. They had a nice win against Dallas. Yeah. I ain't trusting Garoppolo to win a game at Lambeau. I don't see that happening at all. If he does, bless him. I'll sing his praises, or I'll just stay off Twitter. But I don't see it happening at all.
He said, "I'll just stay off Twitter." That's awesome.
I'll probably be on Twitter, because like a lot of people will be dunking on the Packers, and that'll be funny to me.
That will be.
But I don't see Garoppolo winning a game in Lambeau. Rams and Bucks.
I appreciate the 49ers for beating the Dallas Cowboys, though.
Rams and Bucks.
I can't bet against the GOAT. Can't bet against Brady. I'm gonna go with Brady. My LA heart, because I'm a LA fan through and through, and I did root for the Rams the season that they made it to the finals. I'm kind of like a non, like, I don't have a team in the NFL. I kind of just see the teams at the beginning of the regular season and pick one. This season I just went with my fantasy football team that didn't pay off for me, but I think that the Buccaneers are just a more complete team, especially on the offensive end. I don't think the Rams can stop them.
I kind of want to go with the Rams. The Bucks are banged up. It's tough to bet against Brady. I know that. I know it's very tough to bet against Brady. I really like this Rams team. Stafford, I know he can be a little up and down and everything. I'm going with the Rams. I'm going with the upset here. I'm going to go with the Rams. Buffalo and Kansas City.
This is the toughest one to pick, ladies and gentlemen.
Really?
for me personally, because my cousins are all from Buffalo, so I've kind of always rooted against the Buffalo Bills. Like I used to always just make fun of them for being losers, and now that they are actually a prominent team, I don't even have conversations with my cousins, ladies and gentlemen. That's how I am with sports. So I'm gonna go with the Chiefs.
The Chiefs are banged up, and that's a little bit of a issue,
Yeah,
but I'm going with the Chiefs, man. I know Mahomes in the Super Bowl last year didn't play his best game. It's tough to bet against this guy come playoff time, though. It really
absolutely.
is. He's tremendous, and he's been on a roll. I like Let's Buffalo. They're actually playing really good football, and they've been rolling as well. But Mahomes, after a slow start, he's really turned it around. I know they lost the Bengals game, which that was a very odd game in many ways, especially the ending there. I ain't going against Mahomes against a Buffalo's Bills team that their history just overall ain't that good, especially on the road. So I'm going
Yeah,
with the Chiefs in this one. I do think we will get at least one road upset. I mean, I've picked two. I think you can lock in one, and I think the Bengals or the Rams have the best shot. The Bengals, they can obviously lose. Any team can lose, and they are the underdog. They feel like the favorite. That Titans team, I just don't know. Really, just don't know about them. Ryan
yeah.
Tannehill, like trusting Ryan Tannehill in this playoff game. I don't know.
That's a suspect move. I mean, that's the only road team that I think is gonna win over this weekend. But it sets up some very big matchups in the championship game. So I'm looking forward to it.
Let's talk about the challenge. I know you do have to go because you got to do Degrassi dudes. Real quickly,
I got time.
Valib says everyone is doing that Kyrie home away path. The challenge, it wrapped up a couple weeks ago. The main series, the All Star series, wrapped up last week. CT forever the GOAT, and then you told me that there was some foul play in this MJ and Johnny win for challenge All Stars. What so? I liked the majority of the challenge All Star seasons. I thought the finale sucked, and
Oh
then like
man.
the way that was all done. Actually, thinking back on it, some of the way they handled Kohutta and Kendall when they got just knocked out because of that, like that wasn't given a fair shake. There was some weird stuff going on this All Star season, and then with that finale where MJ and John A won, it's like, man, they didn't do shit all season. This sucks. And the finale wasn't good. And then you told me that like the producers basically handed them to win. Now I'm just like, this whole season really sucked.
Yo, like I love this season. Like 6 episodes in. Like I love this. The first 6 episodes is probably on the same level of All Stars 1. But like see episode 6, episode 7 is when stuff started falling apart. Like the whole Casey, getting pregnant, and then Kohada, when you literally in the previous episode had Kendall go out with injury and Latarian be able to play his way back into the house and become partners with Jasmine. You could have done the same thing here, but because the house didn't vote for Kahada and Casey and Kahada get off the show. Kahada can't even play to get in. Like we don't even get an elimination that episode. And I feel like the whole season kind of fell apart from there. Brad and Jody, who, were kind of dominant in the daily challenges in I think the final daily challenge before the final elimination, that whole open the box challenge, and then you get the key to open the other box thing. We hear on TV, TJ explaining the rules that you have to untie the box, but apparently that wasn't told to them. They said you just have to open the box. So that's why Brad did the Hulk smash and tore the top of the box off. So he got disqualified for a rule that he wasn't even told of. Then he loses in the elimination. Then we get the finals. I was just totally confused with the whole finals, but then having Janelle explain it on the challenge podcast. So apparently they ran down. So, in the final, you had to run. They say you have to run to the nucleus, and then at the nucleus, you choose whatever puzzle you want to do. Apparently, before you even get to the nucleus, you have to stop and do a puzzle. And we never even saw that on the episode. So that's why Ayana and Tech, even though they're not the most athletic out of the pairings that was left, that's why they were the first to the nucleus, because they completed the puzzle that we didn't see to get to the nucleus first. Then apparently something was wrong with MJ and Janae's memory board that helped them and stuff. There was a whole confusion with Darrell and Janelle going down the wrong path. Melinda and Nehemiah and Melinda and Janelle and Darrell actually completed the first phase. MJ and Danae didn't even complete it. Ayana quit for them to get to the second phase. And then when you start the eating challenge, we don't even see that anyone has an advantage. So MJ and Janae has the same chance of winning phase 2 of the two teams that did complete phase 1 and they didn't. I was just mind boggled by that in general of that last episode. I was like, how is this a final? Like, they have to eat, they have to run down this pathway, but like Nehemiah and Melinda finished before everybody, and they don't even get a chance to eat the food first. I don't understand this at all. But apparently they had a 1 minute advantage. Then Janelle and Darrell had 30-second advantage, and then MJ and Danae could eat. And then when they got to the board, apparently all the math boards, MJ and Janae had the easiest board to do. Then, Darrell and Janelle get to the safe first. Everybody is confused with the safe. So production tells them, oh, you guys just run to the plane. But then they were like, no, you can't just run to the plane. We need you to run with the money. So apparently MJ and Janae ran to the plane, and production put them in the truck back to the safe. And when they were in the truck with production, and MJ and Janae were told that there's a 4th step for the safe. So when we were watching and we see them and Janae and MJ are like, oh, look at the board for the 4th step. That was why, because production told them that there was a 4th step. So they looked at the board, saw the 4th step. That's why they were able to get the money and get to the plane first.
See, I did not listen to this podcast, and you were in our challenge chat with us two and our good friend Cher Delaware, explaining all of this. And I told you guys, like, I checked out of this final when Ayana gets there and it's like, hey, they're doing well and stuff. And then she just like quits. And then it's like a smash cut to like all the teams are standing there. It's like, well, we're on to the next phase, everybody. It's like, huh? Where were MJ and Janae? They didn't even finish. Like, why do they get to, they should be out too. Like, fuck them. They didn't even finish the thing. Like, I was out. It was so poorly edited, that final episode. Like, I felt like I was lost the entire time. The editing was so bad. I didn't know what was going on. And now I realize I didn't know what was going on because they had to edit the shit out of it. Because apparently even the contestants didn't know what was going on half the time with everything. Oh, man. But hearing all this just makes me... We know as challenge fans, Derek always says the challenge gods like to intervene on a lot of stuff. Like, we know as challenge fans, there's some production stuff that happens where it's like, yeah, we can kind of play around and manipulate it how we want it to be manipulated. But we hope that nothing too foul is at play here. And we're watching a fairly honest game for a reality television competition. This one doesn't sound honest at all. And they gave the win to the weakest team. This team, Janae and MJ didn't do shit all season. They didn't see an elimination. They didn't perform well in the dailies. They were just like there the whole time. It's like, why are they winning? Why are you giving it to them? This sucks.
Apparently they had a whole hookup in the house that we never saw. Like, I was like, yo, why? I heard of so many hookups on this season, and I'm just like, but why wasn't any of this shown? Like, All Stars 1 had Nehemiah and Jemmy. They had Giselle and Alton. They had all these romance and hookups. Like, Melinda and LT apparently hooked up. We never saw any of that. Janae and MJ hooked up. We never saw any of that. Like, it was just like, you guys really went heavy with this whole all the houses split, it's split in two sides, and that was the only story you wanted to tell outside of the challenges and the eliminations. And I feel like that was a letdown from what we got in All Stars 1, where we got dope daily challenges, we got traditional eliminations, and we had all kinds of house drama. You had friends going at it, you had your romance, you had your alliances, and like just none of that in season 2. So hopefully season 3 with my boy Wes coming in, we can get
is he?
Yes.
Oh.
Wes Nehemiah is on this one. Well, the kind of the what's been like the all-star cast is Nehemiah, LT, Darrell. They're all gonna be on it. I think Bananas was supposed to be on it, but he's not. Jordan is though. Jordan Wisely.
Ooh.
And Naya. Naya's on this season. So I'm very interested in this season 3.
Yeah, that should be really good there. Seeing Jordan and Wes on All Stars is a little weird because
it is.
I feel like they can still compete with the main stuff pretty easily, and you would think they would still want them on that show. I think next season for the challenge, like the main, we got to finally do the CT Bananas game. Like I don't know what they're charging, whatever it is, pay them what they want. But do CT, Team CT, Team Bananas, let them pick their teams. Do a big encompassing team game because I feel like it's been a while since we've seen that. It's always been like 2 pairings, or last year they did like the little small silos with 3 pairings and stuff. It's been a while since we've seen like this team type of head to head. It's been mostly like 2-on-2 teams, or everybody's playing an individual game.
I think it's mainly because they did that season 34 War of the Worlds 2, and a lot of people complained because like the finalists, the winners, I think it was Jordan, Rogan, CT, and D. Only Jordan had been in an elimination. Like they literally, that's how they kind of played the game. The chorus cult was like dominating that game on both sides. So there was a lot of people on the US team and a lot of people on the UK team that never saw elimination. It was just kind of the group that was against them that would always be in elimination. So I think that was the part that didn't work there. But I do agree that the CT Bananas thing would work. Kind of like, you don't need to split it up by countries. Just have like their rivalry kind of pay off in a big way. I think they saved that for season 40 because I think we're on. This is going to be season 30. No, that the last season was season 38. This is season 39. CT apparently wants to take the season off. You just had the issue with Ashley, so I just think you do an all non-champions challenge, like everyone that hasn't won a challenge yet. So we have a new challenge winner in season 39.
I'm completely for that as well. But at some point we gotta do CT Bananas. Like you gotta. That's a big season to get those 2 back for one, even if it's just this one season, to really do this big rivalry. I do remember that War of the Worlds. That sucked because like guys could. They always call it infiltrating, but could like switch sides and stuff. Yeah. I don't even want any of that. Just like you pick your team. This is the team you're riding with the entire time. And like, if people want to do shady stuff to keep each other safe on the other team, that's fine. But I don't want any of this like team switching. I think I'm trying to design this in my head, but I think here's how I would do it. The team that loses the daily, they got to nominate one person to go in from their team. That person can call out anybody on the other team.
Okay.
So that way you're still doing team head to head, and then you're calling out. So you're still, I don't want anybody beating each other off on each other's teams. It needs to be the call out. You're calling out somebody on the other team to go against. And then, you get like, let's say, Team CT loses, they nominate somebody. Team Bananas like, hey, call out this person. And then you might have 2 weaker links, or Team CT tell them, hey, call like this, try to take out a bigger person on their team type of thing. That way you're always playing with your team. You always have incentive to be like helping your team instead of helping other teams. And then if somebody does try to make deals on the other side, it seems like there's a little bit more weight to it. That's just I'm just throwing out there off the top of my head how I would kind of lay out the season. But we got to do Team CT versus Team Bananas at some point.
You basically explained one of my favorite seasons, Inferno 2. Which was, I think, like badasses versus the good guys. That I think it was Miz, Darrell, and Landon and Jamie that won that season. But I think that more like they need to go back to more of like the staple kind of like rules. Keep it simple. They make it very too complicated, especially this last season. Oh man, I checked out. Like midway through, like the only thing that was entertaining about the second half of this last season was Amanda. Thank God Amanda came back because she was entertainment throughout this season. And even someone like CT, who I feel is the GOAT, and I knew he was going to win, he did not offer too much throughout this season, even though he was here the whole time, besides Uncle CT with Emmy, which some people said came off kind of weird. So like, it's just like, even the people that I usually find entertaining weren't that entertaining this season. Like, even like someone like Kyle, I always find him enjoyable. He was kind of just sort of there. Like it was more like this season was heavily focused on the Big Brother stuff, which I'm over. Like this is now like you brought them in Total Madness, then you made them the focal point in Double Agents, and then you made them a focal point again in this season, and it's just like, no, this is stale. Let's move on. Let's stop doing this. I don't need Josh crying every freaking season. I don't need a big Josh fight. I don't need Fessy thinking that he's better than what he's shown us to be. Like this dude beat Jordan, who has one hand in a pole wrestle, and said he's the greatest challenge player of all time. Like, I'm sick of him. I'm done with him. And even KC, who wins, and I'm happy for her. And it's great representation for a lesbian woman, of a woman of color to win the challenge. She literally didn't even make it about all of that. She's like, it's great when you come back from injury and you win. Like, I'm just like, oh my God. Like, you are just like, you're a cool athlete, but you are not the most entertaining person that has been on the challenge.
She was the same way in her Big Brother season. Like she's a very good player, but as far as like a television personality, not a whole lot there with Casey. Not somebody that I'm like, oh yeah, I got to go out of my way to see her, but like great at the game, like tremendous at the game. So that's why I hope that this past season, I don't know if he's gonna do it. This past season of Big Brother, Xavier, honestly, one of the greatest Big Brother seasons, like start to finish, I've seen this guy play. If he decides to he's a little bit older, I feel like, but if he decides to play on the challenge, I think he could be a big addition to the show. Very entertaining, very strategic, athletic as all get out. Like he could be a big player for them. But I got to have my CT Banana season, bring back some of the old guard stuff for them. Pretty much a lot of people who they've played games with. I'm fine if you're going to bring back some older people for that season. Like bring back the all-star guys for that season. Give me Wes, give me Nehemiah, give me Derek in that season. Give me those guys in that season. Yeah. Darrell, obviously, like bring some of the older guard back. You can still sprinkle in some new team, and they might get voted in a decent amount, but then call out the vet on the other side. Call out the vet on the other side if that's what you want to do. Like you can do that. I agree with you though. They've made some of these recent seasons very convoluted with their rule changes. Like, oh, we're gonna have a twist and all this stuff. Like maybe just play the game. Like you don't have to do a twist every single time. Just play it straight up. And if you just make it simple enough, like you don't have to get around, because it was that one season that voting season where they realized that they could just like gimmick the voting results. So the team that won always won. I forget the name of the season, but the team that won could always pick who went in. They realized that they could just like vote as a tie And so the team that won could just be the tiebreaker, and nobody had to get like blood on their hands. You remember this?
Oh, I'm thinking maybe what's that, Battle of the X's, or no.
It was a little bit later, than that.
Yeah. I think I remember what you're talking about. I just can't put my finger on which season that was, but I remember. But this is kind of what they did in All Stars too. Like they started gimmicking the life shield. Like they completely like the life shield was one of the best parts of All Stars 1. Like when Mark had it. And Mark was like, "Oh, I'm saving Katie. I don't care what happened. Like, I don't care who y'all vote in. I'm saving Katie." And we had the Arissa speech off of that. Like, they ruined one of the best parts of All Stars 1 by just completely just throwing away the life shield when people figured out, oh, we could just vote the life shield. They shouldn't even be an option. The life shield people shouldn't be an option for the team that won to vote in into. So they have to use their life shield on themselves. That literally just completely negated the life shield the entire season.
Yeah. These guys are smart enough where they find ways around the rules, and that's why they keep throwing in these twists and everything. This is when, like, so if you're doing the CT banana, I guess one of the way around what I had laid out would be, well, we'll just vote the same guy in every single time if we lose. That's when I would have the rule of like, you can only go in once, maybe, or you can't go back to back at least. So at least somebody new is going in the next time. You could throw that in there. There was the one season that I didn't like, or like you had to go into an elimination so you could get your chip or whatever into the finals. Some guys would win like 2 of those, but then if they lost, they would go home. Like, if I got 2 and I lose this next elimination, I should be able to still be around. Like, I still got a ticket to this final here just because I keep, like, didn't Jay win like 2 of the eliminations, and then the third one he lost, and it's like, well, you're out. It's like, I won 2 eliminations, and then because you kept voting me in, now I gotta leave. Like, no, I should still be around. Like that, like that kind of stuff sucks. And that's why you got to throw in all these twists and stuff. And that's what I would try to do with this process. Like, all right, if you get voted in, you only get voted in once. So like, be smart about who you're going to vote in and win, because this is the only time you can throw them down there. So that if they win and they come back and they're still on your team, that's what it is. Maybe something like that. And
I like that.
You can convolute stuff, because I realize they want to protect certain people and things like that. And that's really what it comes down to, right? Is they're like, yeah, we don't want CT to go home week 2, so we're gonna throw in some twist in here to where. What was it was this past season where it's like, oh, it seems like it's boys and girls elimination. It's like, nope, it's just girls elimination, because we can't afford to risk losing one of these guys as well. We got to keep them around.
That was Double Ages where they came up with the idea to put CT and Wes in the elimination, and then it was just their female partners.
Yes, that one. They're like, nah, we ain't losing CT and Wes this early. Like, nope, we're just doing this girls elimination.
They're like, you gonna take our 2 biggest stars? No, not today, not today. But yeah, I feel like this is a good move for Wes to go to All Stars, because he was kind of fading out as far as like the main season. Like, once he did the partnership with Bananas, there's not much else you can do. Like, you've literally done everything you can on the main season, so it was time to kind of move on to All Stars.
SP3, I appreciate you joining me. We're going to do this bi-weekly, everybody. Demon Grin is asking, what's FMC? It's whatever you want it to stand for. In my head, it stands for Friday Morning Coffee, Friday Morning Chat. It can stand for Fuck Michael Cole, somebody in the chat said. It can stand for Fuck Matt Cardona, who's wrestling this weekend.
I'll be there.
There you go. It is whatever you want it to stand for, honestly. But the main point of this show is SP3 and I getting together every other week to not chat about wrestling, because we do plenty of wrestling chat throughout our week. So we're going to be talking to a lot of sports and television and things of that nature every couple of weeks. We appreciate you guys hanging out. SP3, let them know.
Follow me on the Twitter machine at TrueHillSP3 in about 15 minutes, going live on the True Hill Heat Wrestling Twitch page with Steven Jensen for Degrassi Dude. So if you want to see some Degrassi or never seen Degrassi at all, come along with us and have some fun. But yes, you can check out all my wrestling content over on my Twitter page and True Hill Heat YouTube channel.
There you go. Everyone follow SP3. Always doing great work. I believe Joseph is going to be on True Hill Heat tomorrow.
Yes.
So there you go. Everyone go check that out and continue to support Joseph. Always support SP3. Everyone, we'll be back on this channel next week. Next week, I believe, is when we're going to start our big kind of content rollout with stuff. We got a lot of cool contributors who are going to be doing videos for us. Some of it will be shorter videos. Some of it will be like bits and things like that. We will have live streams. Again, we got a lot of fun contributors on board with this project. SP3 is now technically on board with this project since we're doing shows together. I'll have an announcement probably this weekend, maybe Monday, but soon enough as far as what I'm doing on the main Fightful channel. Drew says tomorrow is when we're going to start doing content. Drew knows better than I do, apparently. I run the channel. I don't actually know what's going on. But hopefully this weekend I will have an announcement as far as what I'll be doing on the main channel on Fightful, the new show that I'll have over there. Drew's announcing it on Twitter. All right, well, there we go. I'll be on Twitch later on, hopefully, myself and Joel Pearl. I think we're going to try to start It Takes Two on Twitch today. So twitch.tv/Fightful Gaming. Everyone come hang out over there. We appreciate all the support, guys. Everyone, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your Friday. Some good wrestling on this weekend. Have a good weekend, everyone.